And welcome back to the Pixels and Panels podcast. This is episode 9, and as always, I am Aaron, your humble host. And we are once again, yes, humble. We are once again joined by Mr. JC Argensinger.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hold your applause.
Yeah, please. It's too much. All right. Well, this is a special episode we're going to do here. We have no news topics to discuss, and we have no comics to discuss this week. But JC and I just finished doing a live stream, which you can find on the YouTube channel. You can either search for it on YouTube or go to pixelsandpanelspodcast.com and click on the YouTube link. We have a 2-hour stream of the first section of A Way Out. The co-op based game that we talked about several times on this show. JC actually brought it up, I think, on our Games of 2018 show, which was
one of my top 5 looking forward to games.
Yes. And so he was excited for that one. He ended up picking it up, and they make it really easy on that game because the person you play with does not have to buy the game, whether you're playing it co-op in your living room, which that's of course, but also if you're playing it online with someone, they just have to download the trial of the game, which is the full game, but it's basically unlocked if someone that actually bought the game is playing it with you. So
yeah, it's a pretty nice feature.
Yeah, it's nice. It makes it kind of easy. Apparently, it's like it's kind of like that feature in Far Cry 4, which I was reading about the game and I actually didn't even realize Far Cry 4 you could play that co-op as well. If it's kind of a similar thing. But anyways, about this game. So we just finished a 2-hour stream. It's we basically escaped the prison, JC.
We escaped the prison.
Yes, but before we talk about escaping the prison, what you sipping on there, buddy?
I'm drinking a little Jameson and ginger.
Ooh, all right. That's a favorite of my girlfriend. Actually, the Jameson part is a favorite of my girlfriend. Not so much the ginger.
Well, I like things a little bit sweet.
You like it a little sweet? Yeah. Well, I'm sipping on something.
She likes you, so I can understand why she doesn't like something sweet.
Ha.
Sorry, you just set me up for it.
Too close. Cuts me to the quick. Now, I'm actually drinking something sort of sweet as well. It's about as sweet as I want it to be, but I'm back on the Rebel Yell, and that's kind of a sweet bourbon. I don't know what it is, man. It's cheap and it's good. I really enjoy this bourbon. I mean, like, it's not that it's cheap, but it is kind of that it's cheap too. Like, I'm not exactly working much at the moment, so the cheaper the better.
So cheap works for you. I understand.
Cheap does work, but like, I legitimately like this bourbon. Like, I don't know, it hits the right notes for me.
All right. Well, we won't hold that against you.
Yeah. So, I'm back on the Rebel Yell this week, but all right, let's get into this game. Just to start off, it was developed by a pretty small team. Like, JC did talk about it a little bit, but let's give a little overview to start off. Super small team, published by EA.
Published by EA. Apparently, news article came out this week. I think it was this week anyway, saying they just sold over 1 million copies, and EA had predicted lifetime sales of only like 900 some thousand. So it's obviously a surprise hit for them at this point.
JC, I said we're not doing news this week.
It's about this game.
Oh, okay. I guess that's okay then. Yeah. Well, there's our news story for the week. Yeah, it did sell over 1 million copies, so it is definitely is a success. I think I read somewhere that the whole game, EA basically gave the team 3 or 4 million to make the game, like, and that's the entire budget. So I'd say they made their money back.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the game is $30, so if 1 million people bought it, like that, they made their money back.
Yeah, and I was curious if maybe their sales projections were lower based on the fact that you could do the use your friend's copy to play.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly 1 million people have bought it, so either 2 million people are playing it, or people just didn't realize that and had their friends buy it.
Yeah, well, it has it definitely has a unique hook to it, right? That you have to play this game co-op.
You have to play it co-op.
It's required to be played with two people. So I imagine, it's getting some good word of mouth just from like people who are playing with their friends who didn't buy the game, but they're enjoying it. And, maybe telling their friends like, hey, you can buy this game. It's only $30. And, we play with someone else. And so I imagine like it's getting decent word of mouth.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think, to me at least, it feels like more than a $30 game if there was more than the 6 to 8 hours of content that there is. So,
yeah.
Obviously there's some branching parts to the storyline that you could play out differently, and you play as either character. So, there's probably, you could probably get 15, 16 hours of gameplay out of it, if you wanted to play through it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and I think you can go back after you've beaten it. You can go back and replay levels. So maybe you could just go back and replay a level differently.
Yeah,
if you wanted to get some more replayability.
You could definitely playing as the other character changes things up, and then also, we had some branching storyline parts.
Yeah. There was some different stuff going on. It should be noted for those of you that haven't played the game. It's interesting how they showcase the game on the screen, because I thought I was going to have the whole screen to myself because I'm playing on my own TV over the internet with JC, and they actually make it so it looks like a split screen co-op game the entire time.
Well, not the entire time.
Right, but let's talk about that once we discuss kind of how the game is presented.
We're talking about that.
Yeah.
It's split screen for the majority of the game, but then there definitely are scenes where we are basically in the same frame and it just goes to one large frame.
Yeah,
or a cutscene.
Right, and I was just gonna say about that is the way they present this game is it's very cinematic. Like they're with the camera angles and they basically, I don't know. To me, they sacrifice a lot on the altar of gameplay in order to showcase the story, and part of that is just telling it in a cinematic way.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, it's it definitely has some really interesting cinematography, but yeah, you definitely are having that through the lens of not as great of gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, you have limited control of what's going on. You're basically in some pretty small areas, and there's a limited amount of things you can do. So, I mean, for me, I didn't think that it was fun to play the game, and especially just to stream it because this is the first time we streamed a game on the channel. So it was fun in that sense because we're going through it, and if it was a single player game, I would definitely be very turned off. The fact that it's co-op kind of gives it enough that I could see myself seeing this through because of the co-op twist. I think if it was single player, I would probably get a little bored with it.
So what I'm going to ask for you right then is I take it you're not a fan of Telltale's games. Because what I would say before you answer, what I would say is this game, if you like Telltale games, you'll probably love this game. And if you like Telltale games, it basically comes off as a high-res co-op Telltale game. Yeah.
So let me just say about Telltale. I am interested in Telltale games that have properties that are telling stories with properties that I enjoy, such as Fables. They did the Wolf Among Us in that universe. They did obviously The Walking Dead. It's in the comic universe, and I'm into that. So I'm not really playing those games as like I'm not playing them to play them as games. Like I'm playing them to basically like see a story. And the thing about Telltale is they tell good stories. So
Right.
it's almost like the gameplay of those games kind of gets in the way of things. Like that was the worst part of those games actually was like actually having gameplay that you had to do because it was just so just limited and really just kind of uninspired gameplay. I just kind of want to see what the story is.
Right. I mean, see, I don't have the same problems with the gameplay that you do. I mean, it's definitely not high end gameplay, if you will, but it's certainly I find it enjoyable, but it's casual.
Yeah,
Have you played the new Batman Telltale game? I guess it's not new anymore.
I haven't, but I did buy it. It was on sale, so usually, like I said, if it's a Telltale game that like I'm interested in the property, like I trust them as like storytellers enough that I'm interested. Like I just bought the Walking Dead collection because it was on sale,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get around to playing all of those eventually because they're coming out with the last season of The Walking Dead.
Okay.
But they also have the Michonne game, and it's kind of cool that it's set like in the comic universe. So, like I basically like wait until one of those goes on sale and then buy them. If it's a property I'm into.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's definitely not like appointment gaming, but
Nah.
I find them enjoyable. I actually was playing the Batman game fairly recently.
Oh yeah, tell me about that because I haven't played that yet.
It definitely is. It's obviously very story driven, but it definitely has more gameplay elements than prior Telltale games, and it does definitely have a sense of feeling like you're Batman, but there's definitely a heavier portion of the game where you are Bruce Wayne, which you obviously don't get in like an Arkham game, really. So from that point of view, it's interesting.
Yeah, I heard that actually. That was one of the big selling points for me. Is like, okay, I could see myself playing and enjoying a game where it told in this way, where you're playing as Bruce. Like that'd be interesting because you're making decisions as Bruce. You're not worried about like having like really cool gameplay as Batman. So yeah, that was intriguing to me. Just going back to A Way Out though. I wanted to say just visually, it's a good looking game for like the resources that went into it. It was made in Unreal Engine 4, and I thought they did a pretty decent job. Like I noticed like a few glitches here and there, but nothing like that was game breaking. And everything was pretty well designed, and some of the environments were actually like pretty, and like you were spending most of the time in the prison at the beginning, so you can imagine that's pretty like dull. But the lighting is decent, and then once we ended up escaping, we were in the forest, and that looks pretty good too. So, I just wanted to give them kudos because even though it was made by a small team, like I thought they did a pretty good job visually. Just putting some decent effort into that.
Yeah, I definitely felt the same way. I mean, the lighting was definitely striking, which for a game that has a significant amount of stealth, having good lighting is important to me because that you kind of play on hiding in the shadows and stuff like that.
Right.
And even the prison, like it was, I was like, oh, this is not a it's not a it's significantly visually striking compared to like a Telltale game where you're going to like an art style. This is a high res.
Yeah, this is them trying to be realistic with the story, and I should say I love a lot of the decisions Telltale makes with what they do art wise. Like the Walking Dead games, you've seen the graphics on those, right?
Yeah, I've actually played through the first two.
The first two? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I haven't played. I think there's a third. I haven't played the Michonne game, and I think there's a third season that I haven't played yet.
There's a third season that I think is coming out as like they're developing it now, and it's going to be supposedly it's going to be the final season.
I thought I had seen that was out, but maybe maybe
You
I'm
know what?
mistaken.
I could be wrong. I will put my crack researcher on that. Oh wait, I don't have a researcher, so yeah, we'll have to. You'll have to do your own research. But I thought it was not out yet, but I could be wrong.
Let's see. There are 3 seasons that are out, and there's a trailer for season 4.
Well, 3 seasons including the Michonne season, right?
No, the Michonne is not considered a season. I don't.
Oh, there's actually 3 seasons of The Walking Dead. Okay. I'm gonna have to check my Walking Dead collection because I just bought that, and I'm pretty sure there's only 2 seasons, and then the Michonne game. But there was also that 1,000 Days that was like in between season 1 and 2. But I don't think that was considered a full season either.
No, I don't think so.
But, anyways, back to
I like to answer your point. I enjoy the art style of those games, and I think it's more effective for that game than it would be to like try to do high res. You know, all these different zombies. All it would be.
oh yeah,
it'd be quite a challenge.
Yeah, well, for The Walking Dead, I think the graphics in those games are perfect because they're stylized and it makes you feel like it's in the comic universe, rather than like the TV show universe.
Right. The Batman series has the same feel. I don't necessarily love it as much, just because of like I'd say more like
it's more like cell shaded, right?
Right, but I mean, they're just some of the choices they made. But that's a different, that's a different conversation.
Yeah. I'll have to play through that, and maybe we'll talk about that one of these days.
I think there's 2 seasons of that now, also.
Yeah, there is, but I think the second season is currently being like the episodes are being released. Like, I think I saw something about episode 4, like a review for that. So they should be almost done with season 2, I guess, if they're still doing the 5 episodes.
Anyway.
Anyways,
A Way Out.
Back to A Way Out, the game we just streamed for 2 hours.
Should we get into a little bit of spoiler talk, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's let's. I mean,
at this point, we should tell people that anything we talk about is gonna potentially reveal story elements. So, if you want to play the game fresh and clean and not know things, I would stop now.
Walk away. Yeah. Although
find a way out of this podcast.
I kind of feel like the first 2 hours that we played was kind of set up anyways. Like there was not a ton of really spoilerific stuff. Do you want to just recap like kind of what the setup of what we played?
Yeah. So, well, interestingly, the story kind of bounces starts off with we're on a plane together, and then bumps us into prison where we don't know each other. So we obviously, are getting some little time travel elements there.
And we're in the shoes of 2 characters named Leo and Vincent.
And we get to, obviously, you could play through as each character if you wanted to and get, different gameplay elements, because we start off and Vincent is entering prison and Leo is already in prison.
Yeah. And then there's a crime boss named Harvey that wants to kill Vincent and indeed sends a thug to kill him.
Kill Leo.
Oh, Leo, yeah. To kill Leo.
Vincent has been put in prison for killing his brother that Harvey actually killed.
Or so he says.
And so we both our protagonists have reason to hate Harvey. So
yeah,
eventually we find a meeting of the ways as Vincent tries to help out Leo, and Leo doesn't really want the help, and
but then he realizes I could use some help.
Yeah, and so we have a number of stealth elements to steal different items that we need to escape from prison.
Yeah.
And it kind of it's again an interesting obviously there's stealth dynamics to these that require 2 players to one person to distract someone while the other person does something, or talk to somebody or what, do different things in unison.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I really appreciated was as they use the escape from Alcatraz method of prison escape, which is going through the toilet and into and into the sub wall.
Yeah.
And as they're going through the sub walls, they encounter a number of different obstacles where they need to get another item.
Yeah.
So that fortunately the game very cinematically cuts us to that element.
Because it's like the next day to where we're in a place where we can grab the item,
right, and then cuts us back to where we were, and we have that thing in place. So I really appreciated that, because so many games will have you walk back, go to that element, go do that thing, then go back through the same steps just to get, which is,
right. And also that is the type of bullshit that game developers will do just to get like tack an extra hour onto the game. So like they can say in the game that the game is whatever amount of hours, and I'm really glad the developers did not go that route in this game.
Oh yeah, for sure. If they had added that, it would have taken us at least an extra hour to escape from prison, if not more.
Oh, and I would have been fuming, because I mean,
and as we were talking about the cinematic elements, the cuts and stuff that they used for that were very cinematic, because like your character would be looking at, hey, come over here, look at this. We need to get into this room, to get these sheets, and then it would go through the bars into that room, and suddenly we're in that room. Very much like a film editor would do. So it, like again, like you said, the incredible film style definitely shone through.
I wanted to say though about the tasks you're doing, and thank God we didn't have to repeat some of those tasks. How did you feel about like the amount of tedium that went into like doing that stuff? Because I was definitely feeling it. I mean, I know this game is not exactly like lighting the world on fire as far as like gameplay. I mean, it's very basic, but I mean, be honest, like how bored were you getting just doing some of the tasks?
I mean, I understand some of the tasks and like things that we were getting were kind of generic Prison Break tropes, if you will. I mean, hell, there was like literally a character who looked like
looked like Morgan Freeman from Shawshank.
Well, not even like looked, but like was the same character. And there was even a couple throwaway lines like your character asks for beer while they're tarring the roof, and
oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that.
They're like, nah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I was gonna bring this up, but what did you think of the little nods to Prison Break movies and shows or whatever?
Personally, it seemed very self-aware, so I enjoyed it, because I like Prison Break. I liked Escape from Alcatraz, which I guess you haven't seen. And I liked, Shawshank and all, any number of them. So the fact that, to see these callbacks, it was fun. Because ultimately, like how many options are there? And at least you're, like to me, it was like, you're still telling me, an interesting story and having me do things. As far as like the tedium of the tasks, it didn't bother me, I don't think, as much as it bothered you.
I think you're more willing to like give these type of games a pass.
For sure, I because I enjoy going through. Like I play Telltale games, and I would probably play them. I played ones that weren't necessarily a property I love, but I don't know. I don't know which ones you found tedious, because I mean, most of them were fairly, just do a stealth thing, you know.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, and I just said honestly, and I'm going to be honest and repeat myself, but no. To be very frank, I felt like most of the stuff was pretty tedious. Um, the enjoyment, I think, like in a meta sense, was just some of the co-op tasks that you had to do that was kind of interesting, like distracting a guard so your partner can go open up a door or something. Like that was kind of interesting. Some of the stuff that I didn't like was, oh, of course, there's a door. You both have to be there to open it. It felt like a little cliche and like, okay, so this is just they're rigorously making this a co-op experience, and I get it. Like that's the hook of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, but yeah, I mean that's the hook of the game. I can understand like the thing where I remember you remarked while we were playing when we had to toss the sheets through the grate, and you were kind of like, this is a little bit much. Like I can understand in that sense, because like it did seem like there were a number of things that maybe someone could pull over and you could stand on, or any number of other options. But I didn't have too much of a problem with like two guys need to bang through a door to break through a door, because like honestly I've never broken through a door. I don't know how hard that is. But I feel like it's somewhat of a challenge, more so than it is in movies.
Yeah.
That was another callback to Shawshank, where we break through a door while the thunder and lightning is going on.
Oh yeah, that was kind of cool. That was actually one of the ones that was kind of fun. Also, walking up the wall like back to back, that was kind of interesting because there's this little mechanic where there's a little slider that goes back and forth, and you have to like hit in an area at a certain time, like in unison. So
yeah, that one was that was a little bit of a tricky element, and I liked what. See, like I feel like a lot of these game types often kind of resort to it being the same type of quick time puzzle all the time. Because it's like Walking Dead. Kill the zombie, whatever. It's kind of becomes the same sort of puzzle that you're doing, as opposed to. This did seem to have a fair number of, different things that we had to do, as opposed to like, it opens with a fight scene that we do, and I think that was the only fight scene that we had, or was there another one?
Now, was there one other time you quote unquote fight? I mean, they're all like quick time events, so it's just
they're all quick time events, but I mean like the opening scene where our characters meet.
No, I think that's the only time you're actually like in a brawl.
Right.
But the other times you're just like taking down guards from behind.
Right. So, but I appreciated that. I was like, I don't need to have, like a bunch of quick time fights. I like that the puzzles were like, No,
I'm glad they limited those.
Yeah, I'm sure there are more as we progress through the game, but I appreciated the fact that it wasn't just like a bunch of fighting elements. There were two. There was but no, it wasn't the one where we got in the knife fight, but you kind of don't really fight. You kind of just start throwing stuff.
Oh yeah, you're just like backing away. Yeah. All right,
and then we had there was we only had one big element that was like a choose your own adventure. Which was when you could drive across the bridge in a police car or go under the bridge. And both players have to agree, and then you do one. We chose to go across in the police car, obviously, because that seemed like it would be exciting.
That was Leo's choice, by the way.
Right. But interestingly, you wanted to go under the bridge and playing as Leo, which was Leo's choice. I, playing as Vincent, wanted to go over the bridge, so maybe we were playing as the wrong characters.
Maybe, No, I felt like, I love Leo because of his glorious sideburns, so I had to play as him.
Yes, those suit you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we ended up doing the police car because that was kind of exciting. I'm sure the under the bridge would have just been like super tedious, and it would have accomplished the same thing, which was the cops would notice us on the other side of the bridge,
and we probably would end up like on the other side of the bridge grabbing a car and doing, I'm
doing
sure
the exact same thing.
I'm sure it gets you to the same point eventually.
Oh yeah.
Although not all these games don't. Some games do actually give you kind of varying stories based on your decisions. There seem to be less of that in this game because going back to Telltale with like the Walking Dead games, like the first Walking Dead game, you have a party essentially, much like in the Walking Dead show or comic,
right?
And based on the decisions you make, certain characters live and die.
Mm-hmm.
So you get like a different gameplay experience based on who you choose to live and die.
Yeah. And that carries over into the other seasons, right?
Correct. I remember I haven't played the third season, but I remember at the end of the second season, the two different options were very different. So, a lot of people were like, well, how are they going to kind of shoehorn this back together? So I need to go back and play that to see how they kind of,
Where did you play? Just by the way, where did you play The Walking Dead? Like, what platforms was that on?
That was on the Xbone.
Okay, because I bought the collection on PS4, and I was glad that I was able to just get all the games on one platform because then I could just carry over the decisions from game to game. Because I
feel like there might be a way to do it, like if you create a Telltale account or something like that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, I definitely want to play through the rest of those because I was compelled and it was an enjoyable experience. So
yeah,
my complaint, I guess, for this game, 2 hours in, is that we only had one real decision point that felt like it made a difference.
Yeah.
As opposed, and the rest was all compelling.
Well, are you talking about the bridge part?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and even that was we both know we're getting over the bridge.
Right, but I obviously, having not played going under the bridge, I don't know how different that element becomes. I don't know I don't know where we go from there and how much of a difference that makes.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I just wish looking back at it now, I'm I wish there was a couple more of those real decision moments where I was like, oh, what are we gonna, how, this could potentially skew what happens, Yeah,
and that's going back to the replayability. That's probably, if you're into this type of game, that would get you to replay.
Right, and the Telltale games have a lot more of those decisions, I think. But they are not as cinematic as this game was, so I can understand. You make sacrifices to make one decision or the other. But that being said, I've never played through a Telltale game after I played it the first time. So
yeah,
I don't know how much that's really worth.
I feel like with those though, you make your decisions, and it's that's what I did. That's my story that I made through those games, and I get not replaying those games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can understand someone playing through this game and never having any inclination to see what happens if they do it a different way.
Yeah, that would be me, by the way. Because I played through it once, I made my decision. I was like, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would be down to play it. Obviously, depending on how the whole story goes through and how enjoyable the rest of the game is, but I would probably play through it a second time, maybe with a different person and play as the other character, and make some different decisions.
Well, it might be interesting to play through it with your girlfriend or something.
That would definitely be fun. I don't have a second PS4 controller, but yeah, potentially.
No, well, really, you don't have two PS4 controllers?
What game, other than this game, really requires two controllers?
Well, I require two controllers for long gaming sessions because one always dies on me, so I have to switch them out.
Oh, see, I just have a long cord.
Just plug it in. Yeah.
You just have a short cord, and I've got a long cord, so that makes a difference.
Ha ha ha. All right. Well, that's probably about enough on this game. We'll probably once we because let's wrap it up with this. Does it keep your interest enough to first of all finish the game, and is it something that you're going to want to jump back into it to finish up?
I mean, I definitely want to finish the game at this point. I mean, I think the story is compelling enough, and I want to see what happens to Harvey.
You want to see what happens to Harvey? Harvey's the villain. You want to see if he gets his comeuppance?
Right. And on top of that, I have heard that and this again is spoiler territory, but I have heard that there is a big twist late in the game. So I am curious to see what a twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I would, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a game that, like, if my girlfriend wanted to play, I would play it with her. I don't know that she would want to play a Prison Break game. But like I could see like this type of game being compelling because it's story based. It's an it's an interactive movie essentially.
Yeah.
But I would certainly like if Ian, who of the Pixels and Panels podcast fame, wanted to play with me, I would certainly play through it with him, but I would probably play through as the other character and be like, hey, let's do this because I've done that before or whatever, but yeah, outside of maybe playing it twice, I don't know that I would play it, more times than that.
Well, I don't know if, the developers really designed the game that way. But yeah, I guess, for me, I think the hook of having a co-op game where it really is designed to make you play co-op is interesting enough that now that I'm already 2 hours into it and we've escaped the prison, I do kind of want to know where the plot goes. So I would be down to finish the game and just, since I've already like invested this much time into it, especially now that we're streaming it too, I kind of feel like I have to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely, I definitely think we should finish it.
Yeah, so maybe we can like knock out the stream and maybe 3 parts. Do like beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah,
maybe do it that way. But just, if I was just like a normal, just whatever, I'm not streaming the game, like I would probably still want to finish it. It's not exactly my type of game. Like I'm more into just more of a pure gameplay experience. I mean, I really appreciate storytelling, and like I'll tell you what, one game I cannot wait for that's coming out tomorrow that I know is going to have a lot of great storytelling by all accounts is God of War. But I also know that that's going to have a great gameplay system embedded in it. So
it's interesting because right, that is a game that has good storytelling and has good gameplay, and then there's if you think about it, there aren't a ton of those games. I mean, like Half-Life essentially is one of those games that like ushered in the era of that kind of gameplay. I mean, just that. I mean, I don't know if you played it when it came out, but I have the vivid memory of the opening scene where you're just in the trolley, and you're like, this is a long scene to be in but you're getting like the credits and you're like, it was done very, I mean, and you go back and you look at the graphics and stuff and it doesn't necessarily hold up.
But at the time, it was great.
But at the time, they were cutting edge, and and it was it broke all this ground, and just stuff like the cinematic elements of having like a character getting thrown through a window, which obviously is now very mundane, but like at the time, those things were all revolutionary, and so it's great to see. I think Telltale kind of had the market cornered on this kind of gameplay, and so it's interesting to see another company putting their stamp on this. Apparently, the creator has made another game that's kind of similar to this.
Oh yeah, Brothers, right?
Which
Brothers, Tale of Two Sons.
Which I've never played.
I haven't either.
But it also reminds me kind of did you ever play Shenmue?
No, I didn't.
Because that game had a mixture of like kind of like pure gaming elements, and then like quick time events that were supposed to be more cinematic, but it was also kind of like an early kind of not true open world, but like open world in the sense like you could walk into an arcade and play an arcade game.
Yeah.
Apparently a remaster of 1 and 2 is coming out soon.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So I would pick those up because those are kind of classics. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if this spawns more games of this type, or if we can get more great storytelling in a game that has more compelling gameplay. But I don't know if maybe one has to sacrifice for the other.
Yeah, it will be interesting because, as you said, it is sold over 1 million copies. So maybe publishers will look at this and say, maybe gamers do want this. Like, I don't know. They're looking at it like they want this really story-based game, or maybe gamers want more like pure co-op experiences. I don't know. But
I mean,
however, go ahead.
I was to say 2 things. If you know anything about me, one is that I love any kind of co-op game. So that for me is like a true co-op game is kind of exciting to me. That's why it was one of my anticipated games. I think like a game like The Division, was a really fun game to play with the squad. But you could play through that game, the single player, without ever talking to another person, without ever playing with another person.
Right.
And it was fine. But so I definitely like the fact that this is a game that requires you to play with your buddy. I think that's a fun gameplay style. I would definitely love to see a game similar to this, but with more compelling gameplay. I just don't know if that's something that's maybe farther down the line because.
Well, you know what I want to see concerning that? This is what I want. After playing this, I really just want a new Splinter Cell. I want it to have. It doesn't have to be completely co-op. It can be similar to Blacklist or some of the earlier games where it has co-op missions. But this really just made me want a Splinter Cell game because the gameplay is great. It gives you the option to play co-op, and I want that.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think I said before, I had heard that it kind of had a Splinter Cell co-op feel, and I can definitely see that in the sense that there's stealth elements.
It's not that Splinter Cell though. It's it's very basic stuff. Yeah. I'm just saying for the audience, like it's not
right.
It's not on Splinter Cell's level as far.
Not at all. But like there are. I can see the parallels that people would make that like. There are things you have to do together to get an objective, and like double takedown type of things. And wouldn't it be cool to play a Splinter Cell co-op game that was the story game?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I feel like Splinter Cell has told a pretty decent story in most of the games.
Right. That's what I mean. Like take something like that, and but do it as instead of it being one character who is going through this thing, have it be 2 characters who are going through this thing.
Yeah.
And. I mean, I know there is another game that does this.
Well, I think they did that on Blacklist with a couple operatives.
I was going to say there's also that it's a big kind of blockbuster title where you can play co-op for a lot of it, but it's you're running and gunning.
What was that big blockbuster title? Call of Duty?
No, it's like. It's not The Last of Us, but it's
Gears of War.
No, you're in like a jungle.
Oh, jeez. I'm trying to blank. Oh, Ghost Recon? I don't know. Trying to blank.
No, it's like the fourth. There was like the fourth one just came out recently. I feel like
The fourth one. Jeez. I don't know. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank, but
okay.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up because we are keeping it to one topic today. We're just talking about A Way Out. Yeah, so hopefully you check out our stream of the game if you're interested at all. It was a fun experience. It was cool getting out of the prison, and I'm kind of excited to see where it goes next, just plot wise. And so I guess look for part 2 up at some point. Well, JC, thanks for first of all for letting me play the game with you after you purchasing it.
You are welcome.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for who may check out the video and check out the stream we did of the game. It was fun. What's that? Go ahead.
Well, what's your recommendation? Buy it.
Well, I think we've given people enough ammunition to know whether it's a type of game that they would get something out of. So,
would you buy it if you know? If I was like I don't want to play with you again. That's the only option I can think of right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I probably would not buy it. If someone who is more into that type of game wanted to play it with me, like you just kind of did, I'd probably be willing to play it. But there's other co-op games that I would be more into playing, I guess. But having said that, I know that you would recommend people buy it. So it's really kind of one of those things that if you lean more towards story-based games and you're more into that, I would say probably pick it up. And if you're more into just pure gameplay, then, maybe stay away from this one. But I really do feel like it has an interesting hook with the rigorous co-op element of it. So
definitely like the cinematography for that is pretty compelling also.
Yeah, actually, yeah. If you like really cinematic games, definitely, I guess, check this out too. But yeah, so look for more when we post part 2 of A Way Out on the YouTube channel. Go to pixelsandpanelspodcast.com. The link for the YouTube channel is there. You can also send a question or topic in to the email address there.
Maybe we'll answer it while we're streaming,
or maybe we'll answer it on the podcast too.
Are we gonna do a podcast follow up to each session? That seems like a lot.
I don't know. That seems like a lot. Maybe we'll, after we stream all of the game, we'll talk about it like on a segment or something. But yeah, I feel like this was us kind of dissecting the game, and we'll discuss it a little bit more once it's finished. But yeah, we'll leave it there. But thanks for being with us, people, and we will see you next time.